This just in, federal and local law enforcement agencies dealt a huge blow to a violent gang based in Cleveland. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, a grand jury indicted 18 gang members and associates of the so-called Fully Blooded Felons, or FBF. They've been indicted in the culmination of a 2-year investigation into the gang. That gang mainly operated in Cleveland in the Cedar Central neighborhood, where authorities say they stashed guns and weapons and ran an open-air drug market outside the apartments. Other alleged crimes include robberies at gunpoint, physical and sexual assault, kidnapping.
Leading this reign of terror, the alleged kingpin, Mullins, who officials say referred to himself as the Godfather. He allegedly established a strict hierarchy within the gang, complete with rules, fines, and brutal punishments for anyone who disobeyed.
Founded in the early 2010s, the Fully Blooded Felons are a violent Ohio street gang that grew out of Cleveland's larger Heartless Felons network. According to prosecutors, the Fully Blooded Felons emerged around 2012 as an internal crew of the Heartless Felons, Cleveland's most widespread and violent gang. In 2023, that crew formally split off and took on its own identity as the Fully Blooded Felons. Even today, law enforcement describes the Fully Blooded Felons as essentially a subset of the Heartless Felons criminal network, an offshoot that has operated primarily in Northeast Ohio cities and even inside the state's prison system.
In prison tonight, a Cleveland gang leader is going away for good over committed in Cleveland.
A judge gave 29-year-old Julius Webster 99 years in prison for murder. Jurors found the leader of the Heartless Felons guilty on several charges.
There are children all over Northeast Ohio who are members of the Heartless Felons. A growing number of them are out on our streets. They're also in our prisons, and their credibility is determined by the level of crimes they commit. Said that the Heartless Felons, albeit powerful, have leaders in each neighborhood, and that the impact of today's news is hardly noticeable.
It ain't like these children.
The Heartless Felons are one of the largest and most influential gangs to emerge from Cleveland, Ohio. The group was originally formed in prison in 2003, when two crews, the land of the Heartless and the Young Felons, merged. From there, the Heartless Felons quickly expanded beyond the prison walls, spreading throughout Northeast Ohio and establishing themselves as a dominant force both inside and outside the system. Their influence in state facilities is so strong that many inmates who enter prison under different affiliations end up joining the Heartless Felons while serving time. On the streets, the gang operates through several subsets, including Full-Blooded Felons, My Brother's Keepers, and Heartless Mafia. However, internal rivalries have often sparked conflicts between these factions. Over the years, the Heartless Felons have clashed with rivals such as the Headbusters, Gangster Disciples, and other neighborhood crews. Today, they remain the most powerful and far-reaching gang in northern Ohio, with numerous cliques and smaller groups maintaining ties to them.
18 members of the Fully Blooded Felons gang indicted.
Active in Northeast Ohio for over a decade and had a significant presence in Cleveland, particularly in the Cedar Central neighborhood.
The gang started as a branch of another gang known as the Heartless Felons. Authorities say they've been flooding our streets with fentanyl, meth, and other deadly drugs. And that's not all.
The Fully Blooded Felons resorted to the worst kinds of violent acts, including murder, kidnapping, assault, and robbery.
Leading this reign of terror, the alleged kingpin, Mullins, who officials say referred to himself as the Godfather. He allegedly established a strict hierarchy within the gang, complete with rules, fines, and brutal punishments for anyone who disobeyed.
The Fully Blooded Felons styled itself after a Mafia crime family. Its self-proclaimed leader was Dunny Mullins, who called himself the gang's Godfather. Under Mullins, the gang developed a strict hierarchy. A 10-member commission, the top leadership circle, oversaw the organization, and beneath them were about 25 capos, senior members who carried out the commission's orders. This commission would vote on punishments and coordinate criminal operations. According to the federal indictment, every Fully Blooded Felon member had to follow a rigid set of rules disseminated by Mullins and the commission. Members were required to memorize and recite the fully 5 rules at meetings, pledge loyalty to each other, and obey all orders of the commission. They also had to honor an omert, a strict code of silence called amaretta in one press transcript under penalty of severe discipline. The gang even had Fully commandments, a second set of rules similar to the Fully Five, covering everything from respect to senior members down to specific operational protocols. In practice, the Fully Blooded Felons operated like an organized crime syndicate. Prosecutors say Mullins modeled the gang and used terms associated with criminal syndicates and crime families, and Fully Blooded Felons members met regularly to plan crimes. According to the U.S. Attorney, members of the Fully Blooded Felons styled themselves after a Mafia crime family, terrorizing Cleveland streets and running an open-air drug market in public housing. The gang's motto and structure drew clear parallels to Hollywood mob movies, from titles like Capo and Commissioner to pledges of loyalty, earning them a reputation as particularly violent and dangerous.
Authorities say it originated and happened right here in Cleveland's Cedars Central neighborhood. They even say drugs were sold right here in this very vicinity, like an open-air market. They also told us that the alleged kingpin of this gang called himself the Godfather. The criminal enterprise even extended into the Ohio prison system, where they attempted to smuggle
drug-soaked paper and other contraband,
stash houses, torture, guns, and drugs. This organized crime ring has been operating right under our noses. It sounds like something straight out of a movie.
They were modeling themselves and using the kind of terms, as you put it, that you would see in a movie or have seen in movies.
The Fully Blooded Felons have operated primarily in Northeast Ohio. Their main base was Cleveland's east side, particularly the Cedars Central public housing area. Investigators say FBF ran an open-air drug market in and around the Cedar Estates complex. Members used at least 2 apartment units in that complex as stash houses for drugs. The grassy field by the 28th Street liquor store and nearby Cedar Estates became a known distribution point for dealers working under Mullins' direction. Beyond Cleveland, the Fully Blooded Felons spread into other Ohio cities and institutions. The gang established strongholds in Akron and Youngstown. Most strikingly, federal investigators uncovered a network of prison-based smuggling and distribution. According to court filings, the Fully Blooded Felons members actively recruited people to become corrections officers in Ohio prisons, hoping to funnel drugs into facilities. A massive indictment even charged members with running a drug ring inside the private Northeast Ohio Corrections Center in Youngstown. In fact, the gang's drug supply lines stretched beyond Ohio. One leader flew to Texas and Arizona to obtain pills containing fentanyl for distribution back in Northeast Ohio. In short, Fully Blooded Felons operated a multi-city criminal enterprise open-air street dealing in Cleveland, clandestine trafficking in prisons, and organized logistics across state lines.
15 members of a gang called the Fully Blooded Felons are facing drug and gun charges in Northeast Ohio. Today, an indictment was unsealed, alleging they conspired to and other drugs out of the Cedar Estate apartment community in Cleveland. The gang is also active in Ohio prisons.
Law enforcement finally brought the Fully Blooded Felons network to public attention with a wave of federal indictments. The multi-year investigation culminated in coordinated charges from 2023 through 2024. In late 2023 and early 2024, authorities began unsealing cases against the Fully Blooded Felons. 3 members of the gang were in custody by December 2023, and arrests continued into 2024. In April 2024, a 33-count superseding indictment charged 15 Fully Blooded Felons members with roles in a large-scale drug trafficking and firearms conspiracy. U.S. Attorney Lutzko announced that this indictment accused Raven Mullins and others of running an open-air drug market distributing the deadliest types of drugs on Cleveland streets, while plotting to infiltrate Ohio's prison system to smuggle drugs. Later in 2024, the case expanded dramatically. On December 4, 2024, federal prosecutors announced a second superseding indictment charging 18 Fully Blooded Felons with racketeering and violent crimes. The new indictment alleged that the Fully Blooded Felons members had for years used deletion kidnapping, armed robbery, and assault to control territory and protect their drug trade. The indictment lists numerous crimes: deletion in aid of racketeering, kidnapping in aid of racketeering, assault, drug distribution, and illegal firearms possession. Raven Mullins himself is among those charged. He was previously indicted in April and now faces deletion and RICO counts. U.S. authorities portrayed this as a major victory, Cleveland's most significant gang threat, and their reign of terror is over. FBI Special Agent Greg Nelson said at the press conference. Federal officials at a December 2024 press conference announced federal charges against the Fully Blooded Felons. In total, prosecutors say 21 gang members and associates were ultimately arrested and charged in the sweep from late 2023 through 2024. Many have pleaded guilty to some charges as of early 2025. The indictment's 33 counts in April expanded to 52 counts in December paint a detailed picture of the Fully Blooded Felons' crimes and structure. Court filings describe kidnappings and assaults, including a 2022 abduction where a victim was held and tortured, and a 2023 deletion during an armed robbery. They also document the gang's vast drug operations from drug stashes in Cleveland apartments to shipments through prisons, all under the orders of Mullins and his lieutenants. The evidence is drawn from lengthy court documents and news investigations. For example, Cleveland.com reporter Adam Faries noted that prosecutors had observed Mullins using wiretaps to conspire about smuggling drugs and even jury tampering. FBI and DOJ statements provide many of the hard facts. That FBF is particularly violent and has wreaked havoc on Cleveland's central neighborhood, and that its leaders have styled the gang on mob families while using coded rules to enforce discipline. The rise and fall of the Fully Blooded Felons reflects how a local street crew can evolve into a highly structured criminal enterprise, and how federal pressure can dismantle even the most entrenched gangs. What began as an offshoot of the Heartless Felons quickly grew into a Mafia-styled network that blended open-air street dealing with prison smuggling and interstate drug trafficking. Under Raven Dunny Mullins' leadership, the gang enforced strict rules, modeled itself after organized crime syndicates, and used violence to secure its reputation. By 2024, however, a coordinated effort by the FBI, federal prosecutors, and local law enforcement brought down the crew through sweeping racketeering indictments. With 21 members and associates arrested and multiple guilty pleas already entered, authorities say the Fully Blooded Felons' reign of violence over Cleveland's east side and beyond has been effectively broken. Still, the case highlights an enduring challenge. As long as poverty, fractured neighborhoods, and the lure of quick profits exist, other crews may rise to fill the void. The story of the Fully Blooded Felons is both a warning of how fast gangs can organize and a testament to the persistence required to dismantle them.